the channel. This week is this is a very interesting week. The first 2 weeks of June, they don't look like sunshine and rainbows. Like I'm just being real. I'm just telling it like it is. They don't look comfy. They don't look, and I know the last month was whew, not easy. I have been experiencing that. If you're in my inner circle membership and you've heard me talk about, or on my Instagram stories, you've heard me talk about what's going on for me in my personal life. It's just a shit show. It's a shit show. I have no better way to explain it. It's a complete and utter shit show. And today was kind of like the culmination of that, as where I live in Colorado, there was a terror attack, there was a bomb threat. I couldn't be at my house. I got evacuated. I was told by the cops, like, no, you can't go to your house. You can't get anything. And I was like, well, I have work. Like Sundays, Sundays are I do my weekly horoscope days. I wake up, I do my morning routine, I get my coffee, I come back home and I film the update with my astro board like on my TikTok, and I post it to my Instagram. I transcribe it for my email list. I put it in my inner circle membership for people to have there as well. And then I come here on YouTube and I do this live stream and I do the weekly horoscopes. And I could only do like a third of that because soon after I posted my weekly update, I had the intuition to go get a juice, and I went to go get a juice, and I couldn't come back home because the cops were sealing off my street and saying, no, you can't go home. This area isn't safe. We're looking for a bomb. Like, it's not safe. I don't know if I could say that word on here, but you know, that was my reality today. And I just got back home like not even an hour ago. Um, and they opened up the roads again and everything. It took several hours, but I usually have my routines on Sunday. I'm usually like, I do this, I do that, boom, it's all done. I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't do any of that. I didn't even have the opportunity to like come back to my house and get my laptop or anything. I just had to leave with what I had on me, which was just my purse. And I've gotten evacuated before because of wildfires, and they let me go back to my house to get my things. And this time it was very different, and it felt much more forced of like, no. But my intuition was on point. If I had gone somewhere else to get coffee this morning, I would have ended up in the middle of the situation, the attack. I'd like it's wild to me. I don't even know how to talk about it. I'm still in shock, I think. Of like, I just left my house to go get juice and they're sealing off the whole block and like the whole area surrounding me for like half a mile. So just nuts. And I have been alluding to this all year, that this summer was going to be really crazy, and that I did a 2025 overview. It was like 2.5 hours long in my inner circle. We went through month by month the transits and what I felt of the energy of the months as well. And this summer has always, I mean, I've been looking at Uranus going into Gemini since 2021, and it's felt eerie to me the whole time. It's felt like an unexplainable eeriness. And I don't say that, it's not fear mongering. I'm just being real. I'm just telling you what I'm feeling about this summer. And I don't think any of it is gonna be like the world's gonna end, blah blah blah. Like, no, it's just gonna be a lot of change and upheaval that we maybe didn't expect. Like how my day went today. I feel like we're all gonna kind of have moments of that this summer, of things happening that we totally just could not see coming. And I think this is really where it starts. And I experienced that firsthand today. I mean, this what happened made national news. Like it's a big deal. And it feels so surreal to have been like right there. like, like I could have thrown a rock at where it happened. And so yeah, it's just wild. And I think we're in a big time period right now of change. 2025, as I've talked about in other videos, is a Mars year. It's a 9 year where a lot of things are ending and we are stepping into this new era with Pluto and Aquarius as well. And we're going to have a lot of harmonization this week, especially with Pluto. So we're all on a personal level feeling that too. It's happening in the collective. We're seeing it. We're experiencing it. I mean, Uranus is going to harmonize with Pluto at some point. I think it's going to begin this summer, which is why I've always kind of said this summer it just looks wacky. It looks wild. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know how else it's going to like, transpire exactly. I had the feeling this past week, like walking around town of like, I feel like something's about to happen. Like something feels off. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like it just feels weird. Like things feel eerie and weird. That was less than a week ago. And then come to find out today, oh, that's probably why I was feeling that way. And I also feel that way about this summer. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of change and things happening that people didn't expect. Now, Uranus harmonizing with Pluto is a positive, trines are positive. And I put those in air quotes because nothing in astrology is so black or white. Someone asked me recently, because I tweeted or made a thread, or I don't even know how to talk about posting on those types of social medias anymore because the names have changed. I don't know. But I made a post on Threads and X about Jupiter going into Cancer and how it's not really what people think it's going to be. And we'll talk more about that next week. And maybe I'll probably do a whole separate video on it, honestly. And someone was like, oh, but isn't Jupiter in Cancer good? Like Jupiter's exalted in Cancer and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, none of this is that simple. Exaltations are usually overrated and over-exaggerated. Like a classic example is if you know somebody who has Moon in Taurus, Moon is exalted in Taurus. That means that those traits of that sign and placement are extremely exaggerated, which is not always a good thing, right? It means they are blown out of proportion. And especially when we're talking about Jupiter and Cancer, like Jupiter expands and blows up what it touches. Jupiter in Gemini, where Jupiter doesn't like to be, has been a lot of misinformation, a lot of gossip, a lot of news and things coming to light that aren't necessarily true, right? And it's divided us, it's divided the people. And Jupiter expands what it touches. It's expanded that division between people through the sharing of ideas, information, and communication. And Jupiter in Cancer is going to expand the themes of Cancer. Cancer can be passive aggressive. Cancer can be overly emotional. Cancer can be, these are maybe the shadow attributes. Cancer can be really nostalgic and really regretful of things. So I think we're going to really be feeling that when Jupiter moves into Cancer, especially because it will be challenging. It will be making a square with Saturn and Neptune, which is not a comfy, transit. And it's a rare transit because these are the outer planets that move much more slowly than the other ones. And so these really, we're going to be feeling this, especially for the first 2 weeks of June, but the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, we're going to be really feeling all summer. They're creating a lot of weirdness, a lot of wackiness, a lot of things we didn't expect, a lot of challenges and conflicts that we're faced with that we didn't necessarily expect to have to face or to have to deal with. And so I think that's really what what's going to be a really big theme starting at the beginning of the Jupiter and Cancer transit that we're going to experience starting next week. But anyways, for this week, we have Venus moving into Taurus. Let me pull up the chart so I'm actually looking at it. We're going to have the moon move over the south node. We're going to have the moon trine Uranus. We're going to have a lot of things that are going to propel us into greater releases this week, greater embodiment. Before Venus moves into Taurus, it's on Chiron. So we're really going to be feeling these big themes of needing to heal wounds, triggers around worthiness, around our values, around our standards, especially as it relates to our relationships and our money. Okay, all things Venus. We're also going to have Mercury move over Jupiter. So there's going to be a lot of, more of what I just spoke to with Jupiter and Gemini. There's going to be a lot of talk. There's going to be a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of, just stuff coming out of nowhere. This could also be, make you really social this next weekend with Mercury moving over Jupiter before they both go into Cancer, and then Mercury and Jupiter are going to square Saturn and Neptune, which isn't a super pleasant thing. And then We also have Mars harmonizing with Chiron this week, which is going to amplify that need to really heal wounds, triggers related to self-worth and our identity, and how we're stepping into a new version of ourselves and really being embodied in that new sense of self that we've been creating probably over the last 6 years, since the first time that Chiron went into Aries, in 50 years, because Chiron takes 50 years to orbit all 12 zodiac signs. If you're in my Become an Astrologer course, you know this, or maybe needed a reminder. Whether you are or not, Chiron takes 50 years to orbit the whole zodiac. So it is a kind of a big deal where it's at. It really represents that current theme of wounds, triggers, and things that we're focused on as a collective and healing about ourselves. And Aries is the self. It is the identity. It is the ego, we could call it. It is the collective new beginning as well. So all of that is going through a major healing cycle, and with Mars amplifying it this week, we're really going to see a lot of that come to a head, come to light, especially because later in the week, we're also going to have Venus challenging Pluto. Venus moving into Taurus means it will be squaring Pluto. And then we're going to have the moon move into Scorpio shortly after that. So there will be a T-square between the moon, Pluto, and Venus. And then after that, like next week, I think, is we're going to have the moon in Aquarius making a T-square between Mars and Uranus. So there's a lot of tension. I mean, there is harmony. These things that ultimately happen and are challenging or conflicting in the moment tend to be things we look back on as good, as positive, overall, something that we're glad that happened, right? But in the moment, it can be challenging. It can be really hard. So I think that's really what we're going to be experiencing this week and next week in June. I do think we'll have, little pockets of positivity and little pockets of fun. And I think it's important to have those when things feel so heavy or intense. So make those as much as you can, especially these next 2 weeks. Okay, so that is the overall update. I'm done kind of yapping. I'll say more about other stuff in other videos that I do, so look out for those. But let's get into the weekly horoscopes. We're going to start with Aries, as we always do. So Aries Rising, we start the week off with the moon and Virgo in your 6th house. You're going to be emotionally focused on work, your day-to-day structure, systems, routines that you have in place. There could be some major release that's happening around that Tuesday and into Wednesday. You might be really evaluating like what you're doing on a daily basis and if it's benefiting you or not. You might be really organizational about it or analytical about it. There's also a lot of healing happening in terms of your identity, your sense of self, and taking action on some new creative project or venture that's in alignment with this new identity you're stepping into and embodying. Thursday and Friday, there could be some friction or tension between you and somebody else in your life. This could come through a relationship, somebody close to you, partnership, or just other people. You might be feeling a lot of other people's emotions. There might be some emotional projection happening that is, again, calling for you to really step into this new version of yourself unapologetically. That might really amplify on Friday, as well as the moon is going to be opposite Chiron in your 7th house. And the moon will be harmonizing with Jupiter in your 3rd house. So Mercury and Jupiter in your 3rd house. So whatever happens within a relationship that maybe feels like a trigger was brought up, it feels like something you could create content around, or you could spin into something that you share with people as part of this like creative passion or project that you're stepping into and really starting to put out into the world more courageously. Big push to do that this week. Despite the challenges that you're facing, there's a big push for you to really share your creative projects and pursuits. It feels like it could positively benefit your money, and there might be some tension that you face around that on Saturday that kind of propels you to take action on whatever this thing is, despite the other challenges that are going on for you. So that is your week ahead, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Taurus Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 5th house. This could have you really focused on romance or creative passions or pursuits that you're maybe wanting to share. You might be getting really organizational about them, analytical about them, kind of focused on making them better, refining things. There could be something that you're releasing there as well, and really stepping into a new level of support from the people around you in order to do that or to make it happen. Um, as Chiron and Venus are joining up in your 12th house, there could be some really big subconscious shift that's happening around healing wounds in your self-worth, and maybe things you didn't even know were there, and you're having a lot of like come to Jesus, like sobering moments around what's going on in your subconscious that's affecting your life, and maybe ways that you don't want to keep happening. There could be some big push towards, making money or creating something to make money in a new way that's more aligned with these realizations you're coming to on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, there could be some big release, some big emotional release as it relates to a creative passion. You might also start to, as we get later into the week, Wednesday and Thursday, you might be brainstorming a lot of ideas, Taurus. Like there might be things you're realizing or things you're wanting to do that you're like, oh, and this and this and this. So you might need to like organize your passions. You might need to organize like the ideas that you're getting or what you want to create, and just kind of write it all down and have a way to brainstorm it and put it onto paper so that it's not just like overwhelming you in your head. It might be even related to the healing that you're doing. You might be realizing that whatever is going on for you is something you want to help others with. Then on Friday, the moon, Thursday and Friday, the moon will be moving through your 6th house. Again, a great time to organize all the things that you're wanting to do. You're getting ideas around, like how can you work it into your schedule. There might be something that happens on Friday that's like a triggering moment between you and somebody in your life, that again kind of brings up that subconscious wound you've been dealing with. But with Venus moving into your 1st house on Friday as well, it's kind of like you're feeling reinvigorated. I mean, Venus is your chart ruler, so you're really beginning this new phase with self-worth, with values, with your standards, with your sense of self-worth. And you're really starting to like step more into yourself. It feels like through all the things that have come up, even though they were challenging, they are benefiting you and what the changes you're making to yourself. And how that's affecting everything else in a positive way. There could be something that comes to a head on Saturday that is something emotional from somebody in your life that kind of triggers these things that maybe are still kind of there to look at or to just release a little bit more. But again, I do feel like it's going to be ultimately beneficial for you and what you're doing for work and how you're making money, because it could propel you into some new career path or like give you ideas on which to act and create new things around in what you're doing for work. So that's your week ahead, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Gemini Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 4th house. You could be really organizing your home, getting things together, moving furniture around, just kind of like really, everything you've been maybe putting off in your home or you're with family, you're like really getting diligent about. You're really just organizing, structuring, really making moves there in the ways that you've been maybe avoiding putting off. Especially on Tuesday, I feel like there's this big push for you to do something differently as it relates to your home and your sense of self, like really stepping into this new version of yourself and maybe realizing it starts with your home and how your home is set up. You might be realizing you need to like be more cleanly or organizational in your home, and like just have it like create a safe space there that feels like your sanctuary so that you feel like the best version of you from the get-go, and your life doesn't revolve around the foundation of chaos that maybe your home has become unconsciously. Then on Wednesday, that could amplify as the moon moves over the south node in your 4th house. You could be really releasing something in your home as it relates to all of those things. As the moon will be squaring Mercury and Jupiter in your 1st house too, it could feel like whatever you're maybe holding on to in your home or avoiding is like really at a detriment to your sense of self and how you want to expand in your life. Then on Thursday, the moon moves into your 5th house, putting the focus on your creativity, your passions. You might be going on some dates, maybe even Wednesday night or Thursday night or over the weekend. You might be like really putting yourself out there in the dating world a little bit more. This could also be like brainstorming creative projects or passions with friends. But it also feels like there's something that gets triggered on Friday and that kind of prompts you to heal in this area of your life. As Venus moves into your 12th house on Friday, there's also this kind of shift of your values and your self-worth in taking that deeper into your subconscious to see what's there to still be kind of shifted in a way that's going to benefit you long term. There's also a lot of themes coming up around you needing to voice your needs and your concerns and communicate in ways that feel uncomfortable, but require bravery and courage for you to kind of heal these themes that maybe are still affecting you in ways you don't want them to be. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 6th house and opposite Venus in your 12th house, squaring Pluto in your 9th house. So this feels like a big kind of a subconscious belief breakthrough. It might come through something in work or something like that. It really feels like a big shift that happens through a lot of like tension, pressure. But it does feel like it'll be positive in terms of how you're sharing yourself and your ideas and communicating things that really bring you joy and feel like a passion to you. So that is the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Cancer, we start the week off with the moon in your 3rd house, putting the focus on organizing communication, organizing maybe like running errands and just kind of structuring the first couple days of your week and like getting things out of the way that you need to do that maybe you've been putting off. It feels like just a lot of organizing, refining like what you're doing on a daily basis could also be happening in your mindset. You could be journaling a lot more about stuff that's affecting you that maybe you hadn't really looked at or had avoided looking at, and now is the time to really be doing that kind of deep work on yourself, your subconscious, and your psyche. Tuesday, that again could be amplified. I mean, I feel like that will be kind of the theme of like Monday through Wednesday is like, okay, what am I doing to really look at these subconscious things that are affecting me? And how can I look at them, release them, reframe them, shift out of them to step into something new that is actually more desired than the beliefs of the past. On Wednesday, the moon moves into your 4th house, so you might be focused on home, on family, beautifying that in some way, or just really like, calling your mom kind of thing, or just having a house party, or it just feels like you're going to be social in your home in whatever way. But it does feel like that's at odds with your career and what you're kind of wanting to do or begin there. It feels like you're kind of pulled a little thin in both directions, and you might feel like there's a struggle to find balance on Wednesday and Thursday between your home and your career and what you're doing there. There is a lot of healing happening through your career right now, especially as it relates to your sense of self, your self-worth, your values and standards, and like what you want your career to look like. I feel like there's a need for you to set boundaries around things there so that you make sure that it happens, and that could come to a head on Friday as the moon is opposite Chiron in your 10th house. Venus also on Friday will be moving into your 11th house. So you might really be prioritizing friendships and getting a lot more value and just insights and downloads about like this new beginning and how you really want it to come together through your friends, through your connections. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 5th house, challenges Venus and Taurus in your 11th and Pluto and Aquarius in your 8th. So there could be something that maybe comes through a friend that sparks some creative passion or pursuit that you want to share, and it's kind of creates a new form of making money for you, or brings in more income that you maybe didn't expect it to do. And it's all about timing, like when you release this thing, when you act on this thing, and I feel like the momentum is really building for you to be able to do that. And I think you're really going to start to feel that this upcoming weekend. So that's the week ahead for you, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 2nd house. You might really be organizing your finances, your money, refining your budget and things like that. You could really be focused as well on maybe sharing yourself in new ways to make money, maybe with your community or on social media. That could come to a head on Tuesday when the moon is challenging both the sun and Mercury in your 11th house. There could be this big push emotionally for you to share yourself in new ways that you haven't, that maybe you've been procrastinating or putting off. This feels like a really big time for you to heal any subconscious beliefs that are kind of holding you back from doing what you want to be doing, especially as it relates to making money. On Wednesday, the moon moves into your third house, putting the focus on your errands, communication, kind of day-to-day tasks and routines. You might be really feeling a lot more social on Wednesday and Thursday, but it does feel at odds with like some trip you're taking, or if you're traveling, or like if there's like if you're in school or you're investing in education for something and there's something you want to like really prioritize learning. It feels like there's kind of just like there's odds between what you want to do and what you're like kind of faced to do on the day to day. But it does feel like a good kind of time to socialize and maybe get some clarity through your friends, especially on Thursday, as the moon in Libra will be harmonizing with the sun in Gemini in your 11th house. That feels like a really great day to hang out with friends and just kind of take it easy, and have some relaxation away from like whatever chaos is happening for you. Then on Friday, there's something that could come up that really triggers you, or a wound that is revealed in terms of like plans you had about travel or education, or just like your overall philosophy of life, like how you're viewing the world around you. There could be this big kind of come to Jesus moment of like needing to release something emotionally, maybe tied to a past relationship or something like that. That you realize was really affecting you, that you didn't have that realization that it was before. And so this comes up to release it so you can really heal it and move forward without it, because you don't need it holding you back. Saturday, the moon moves into Scorpio in your 4th house and opposes Venus in your 10th house, and also squares Pluto in your 7th house. This could be, friction between a relationship, and that doesn't necessarily mean a romantic relationship. It's just somebody in your life and work, and where you're living, or what's going on in your home or your family life. It could feel like those are all kind of like challenged. And it's kind of putting the pressure on you to kind of remove yourself from any attachments you've had with people or living situations. Um, yeah, and that's further amplified on Sunday as Mercury and Jupiter join up in your 11th house. There might be some realization you have through a conversation with a friend, or something you see on social media that like it clicks and you realize how you want to move forward. So that's the week ahead for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo, we start the week off with the moon in your 1st house. You might be feeling a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more intuitive the first few days of the week, especially on Tuesday, as the moon is going to challenge the sun and Mercury in your 10th house. There could be some very big emotional thing that happens in terms of your identity or sense of self, that challenges or comes through a challenge in your career or something like that. There's tension, there's conflict between your career and you, your identity, your appearance, your sense of self, um, in an emotional way. There's also going to be some big emotional release as it relates to you and your sense of self, maybe again tied into your career on Tuesday, realizing like, oh, I wanted to do this, but now I kind of don't, or, this isn't aligned with where I'm headed kind of thing. It feels like this big release of something that you maybe had started to take action towards, and now you're realizing like, oh, I don't actually want to do that. I want to do it differently, or I want to do something entirely different altogether. Um, and I think there's a lot of healing happening for you right now in terms of like your self-worth and your values, and that's playing into this as well. Might even be coming up through resources or debt, taxes, things like that, and you're having to like really face those things, and how maybe wounds or triggers from the past have played into your experience with those things. That will especially be a theme Wednesday and Thursday, as the moon is opposing Saturn and Neptune in your 2nd house. There could be a good conversation that you have with a friend, maybe on Wednesday, that really just is kind of like a come to Jesus moment about money and about finances and about wealth. It could be through a relationship as well. I mean, just somebody in your life, I feel like, is going to bring this perspective to you, and it's going to cause this big shift and this big it's just way of seeing things differently, and kind of like, okay, I really need to like be discerning with how I spend my time and how I'm making money. That could continue to be a theme for like the second half of the week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, especially on Friday, as the moon is going to be opposite Chiron in your 8th house. Big realization about a wound or a trigger that was there when it comes to resources, feeling supported by money, and through what you're doing for work. It does feel like once this shift takes hold, there's a positive ripple effect in everything that you're doing, and you're going to be really busy, and it's kind of like you have to be discerning with what you take on. Not from a place of like I need the money, but from a place of like I actually feel like excited to do this. I actually want to do this, instead of from the maybe old belief system or the old narrative identity that was like I just need to do things for money. I just need to do things for money. Like you're kind of reaching a point where you just can't do that anymore because you just have so much coming your way, and you have to be discerning with what you actually enjoy doing for money instead of doing it just for the money. Does that make sense? Especially with Venus moving into your 9th house. I mean, this is big shifts around your perspectives of life when it comes to your values, your self-worth, and your money, your finances. There could be some big breakthrough over the weekend in terms of your career. Maybe if this comes through a conversation you have with somebody, or somebody reaching out to you about an opportunity or something like that, could come through meditation. But it does feel like there's this big push in a new direction that really feels more in alignment with your joy, as opposed to just like survival and taking on things and opportunities from survival. And I think there's also going to be a big push to change your perspective, your belief systems around that, and how that's affecting what you're doing on a daily basis to make money. On Saturday, as the moon in Scorpio is going to be opposite Venus and square Pluto in your 6th and 9th houses. So there could be a big breakthrough there where you really shift, and maybe let go of some things that just didn't feel joyful for you. So that's the week ahead for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Libra, we start the week off with the moon in your 12th house. This is internal time. This is subconscious time. This is, okay, what's going on underneath the surface? What's going on in my mental state? And how can I just better take care of myself in that area? Especially on Monday and into Tuesday, as the moon is going to be challenging the sun and then Mercury in your 9th house. So there could be some really big perspective shift where you just start to really see life differently, and you realize like what's needed to be able to do that. That could be further supported later in the day on Tuesday as the moon moves over the south node, prompting for a big emotional release as it relates to everything I just spoke to. And then later on the day on Tuesday, maybe even early Wednesday, depending on where you are in the world, the moon is going to challenge Jupiter in your 9th house too. So there could be some big challenge or conflict that comes up emotionally that propels you to expand, to shift how you're seeing the world around you. Then on Wednesday, the moon moves into your 1st house, which is really going to put the emotional focus on you. You could be feeling really intuitive, really sensitive, and just emotionally focused on you, your sense of self, your appearance, your identity, your emotional health, and what you're doing to take care of yourself through maybe all the chaos that's happening with other people in your life that could be affecting you in some way. I think that's going to be especially supported on Thursday as the moon harmonizes with Gemini, the sun in Gemini in your 9th house. There could be some big identity shift that happens through everything that came up earlier in the week that you really step into. Then on Friday, there's something that, you have to face. You have to face something that really is a trigger or a wound, and you have to really come at it from that new identity that you're stepping into, that you have stepped into, especially as Venus moves into your 8th house that day too, putting the focus of your self-worth and values on a deeper kind of psychological transformation, like really healing the wounds and the triggers that were still there from action, from a place of owning your own authority and standing up for yourself in maybe ways that you hadn't been maybe your whole life until now. Also on Friday and Saturday, the moon or Mars is going to harmonize with Chiron, further amplifying that energy of needing to really, set some boundaries and heal through relationships and people in your life. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 2nd house, putting the focus on your money. It's going to be opposite Venus in your 8th house, and it's going to square Pluto in your 5th house. So this could be a lot of challenges or tension between your money, what you're doing creatively, and resources. It feels like there's tension there that's propelling you to some sort of change or something new in terms of what you're sharing on social media or how you're putting yourself out there to your community, the world around you, and doing it from a place of pure joy as opposed to I just need to do this for a certain result, right? It's like transforming your approach to these things and what you're sharing. There could also be some big, again, mental breakthrough over the weekend related to what came up earlier in the week as Mercury moves over Jupiter in your ninth house. There's a big like need to really shift your perspective of life, shift any residual subconscious beliefs or things, conditioning that just aren't serving you and where you're headed. So that is the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 10th house on Sunday. On Monday, the moon will be in your 11th house. I was on the wrong day there. So, Monday, the moon is moving through your 11th house and challenging the sun and Gemini in your 8th house. So, this is a big propellence of like what came up at the time of the new moon. This is the time to really be taking action on it, whether it's like, putting yourself out there with your community or sharing on social media, like what you're doing or what the intentions were that you set with the new moon around, subconscious beliefs or psychic abilities or things like that, or resources. And like, there's something related to that you're taking action on at the beginning of the week. Then on Tuesday, there could feel like there's a big need to release something related to that, either a mindset that was holding you back, a belief system that was holding you back, the idea of perfectionism maybe that was holding you back. With Venus on Chiron in your 6th house, like it's really time to heal those wounds or those triggers around what you have been doing for work, maybe ways of being or ways of doing it or going forward with it that other people would have projected onto you of like, that's not how you do it, or that's not going to go anywhere, or blah, blah, blah. You're really learning to like let go of everything that people have told you and step into your own authority and your own wisdom based around your own intuition of what's true for you. That is especially true on Wednesday as the moon moves into your 12th house, putting the emotional focus on your subconscious. What's there that you've taken on from other people that you don't like? It's like having things in your closet you never wear. You're not going to wear them. You're not going to wear it. Don't listen to the story in your head that's going to tell you maybe one day. No, just get rid of it. You'll feel so much better and you'll probably forget you had it once it's gone, right? This is like, that's how limiting beliefs work too. And so that's really kind of be the focus the second half of your week as the moon moves through your 12th house and opposes everything that's in Aries in your 6th house. Then let's see, later in the day on Friday, the moon moves into your 1st house, putting the emotional focus on you. You might be feeling more sensitive, more intuitive, more just emotionally focused on what serves me, what do I need, what's going to help me. Earlier in the day on Saturday, there might be some friction or conflict between a family member or someone in your home, somebody that you were maybe in a relationship with, or just there's challenges, there's friction, there's tension between you, your emotions, your home, your family life, and your relationships, the other people in your life. But I do feel like it's propelling you into this new career. That sounds unrelated, but I really do feel like it's super related. Like there's something about what's going on there that's propelling you into this sharing yourself in a new way in your career and doing something new for work that maybe you had been avoiding taking action on. So I feel like if you haven't been taking the action, this is the week where you really start to do it, and you might start to see really quick results from it as well. There could be some big idea or breakthrough that you get related to that too over the weekend. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius, we start your week off with the moon in your 10th house. You're going to be emotionally focused on your career. There could be some challenge between your career and somebody else in your life that really propels you to action in terms of a relationship or something like that, maybe related to a creative passion, pursuit, or dating, maybe your romance life, take it as it resonates. I do feel like there's going to be some big release in your career on Tuesday, some emotion, something you were emotionally tied to maybe, but you're just realizing you can't keep doing it, or you can't keep showing up for it the way that you have been. You have to shift your approach, or you have to shift what it is altogether. That could feel at odds with your relationships as well. Like maybe you've been feeling really expanded with the people that are around you, and that maybe on at the beginning of the week feels at odds with what you're doing in your career and how you're maybe refining what you're doing for your career or showing up to the world around you. On Wednesday, the moon in Libra moves into your 11th house, opposes Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house. This feels like there's tension between your community, again, kind of the people you're hanging around, your friendships, and what you're doing creatively. Maybe even like dating as well. But then on Thursday, there is harmony between the moon and like you could meet somebody on Thursday if you're like have been putting yourself out there and dating and like wanting to meet somebody. There could be some harmony between that on Thursday. If you get invited to go somewhere with friends or something like that, you could just like serendipitously run into somebody. So it feels like what was challenging, it doesn't feel so challenging anymore on Thursday. But then we get into Friday, and there is something emotionally, maybe through what happened on Thursday, that kind of triggers you in a way you didn't expect, to heal some type of wound that was still there, and whatever happened the days prior to this kind of shows you that. But it does feel like there's still this overall energy of expansion in your community and your relationships. Also, with Venus moving into Taurus in your 6th house, you're super focused on, okay, what am I doing for work? Does it benefit me? Do I like it? Does it benefit the people I want to serve? I want to help. Is it good for all? Is kind of what I'm feeling the focus begins with this shift of Venus into Taurus in your 6th house. Again, there's huge reevaluations in your career, and this could amplify that. Earlier in the day on Saturday, the moon moves into your 12th house, kind of putting the focus on your internal world, maybe reflecting on everything that came up earlier in the week. It does feel like you might be challenged in your with some form of communication or somebody that's a really close friend and what you're doing for work. It could maybe come through a client or something like that that really challenges, again, a subconscious belief that maybe has been just rearing its head and letting you know that it's still there all week. And then there's a trigger on Saturday that kind of forces you to face it, look at it, and shift it. But I do feel like whatever this is, it's gonna be positive for what you want and what you how you view your life moving forward, even though it will feel maybe challenging and uncomfortable in the moment to face these things. So that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Capricorn Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your 9th house and Virgo. There could be some big focus on, international plans or education, or just philosophies of life, just how you're viewing the world around you. I mean, there's a big shift happening for you there. There's a big release of an old way of viewing the world. And maybe also a big release of perfectionism or tendencies around, being overcritical or over analytical of yourself. Analysis paralysis could be something big that you're releasing early in the week. And then we get into Wednesday, the moon in Libra moves into your 10th house, opposes Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house. There could be some way you're at odds, or there's tension between your home, your family life, and what's going on in your career. It could feel like really emotionally challenging on Wednesday. But then on Thursday, there is harmony between your career and your work. It feels like a very productive day. Thursday feels very productive. It might also be very social. So, just kind of analyze that for whether or not all the socializing that may be going on is actually productive or not. There could be maybe some of it that isn't, but work your magic to structure that as is needed. It does feel like there's a lot of expansion happening in your career and work in general, maybe through whatever you shift or release earlier in the week of like, okay, I don't have space for this right now, so I'm going to prioritize what I do. And that just feels to be flowing really well once you get that clarity. Friday, the moon moves into Scorpio in your 11th house. So again, there could be some tension between like your friends, your community, and what you're doing creatively as Venus moves into your 5th house and the moon will be opposing it. It feels like there's a big focus on creative ventures, maybe even romance, as that, take that as it resonates. But it does feel like it's at odds with maybe your emotional ability to focus on your friends or your long-term goals and visions, and how that's supporting your money, and maybe a transformation you've been making in terms of your finances. Like, it feels like there's this big challenge between all of those areas of your life that maybe propels a change. Maybe, like I said, related to what's been going on all week. It's kind of like the energy is building, and we it comes to a kind of a peak on Friday. Then on Saturday, you have Mars harmonizing with Chiron, starting to harmonize with Chiron in your fourth house. So it feels like whatever has been going on in your home or your family, it is beneficial for like other things in your life, even if it is challenging in the moment, or like it's not so cozy or comfy. It does feel like it's beneficial for other areas and what you have going on there. Yeah. And then on Sunday, we're going to have the moon opposite Uranus. In your fifth and 11th houses, again, there could be some big tension between your creative passions, pursuits, projects, and your long-term goals and visions. It almost feels like you don't know if you're on the right track or not. And so there's this really big need to check in with what you're doing. Does it really align with what you want? Does it really align with your joy? Is it, it might be fruitful, but is it something you really want to be doing? And if not, there does need to be some shifts that are made to align yourself with what feels good for you, more than what feels good for others. So that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 8th house. Could be a big focus on finances, resources, shared assets, organizing taxes, maybe debt or things like that. Maybe even like just doing an overhaul of your money, and going through stuff and making sure that it sits right with you. That could be related to or at odds with a romantic dating life or your creative passion or pursuit. It kind of feels like things just aren't really going the way that you're wanting them to go, and there's some adjustments that need to happen. There might be a need for more trial and error, because it does feel like there might be some perfectionism going on or analysis paralysis, and the transits of the early week are going to show you that with all of this Virgo stuff. Especially later in the day on Tuesday, there's going to be some big release in terms of like what's going on deeper subconsciously, when it comes to habits or tendencies of perfectionism and being over critical or analytical of what you're doing. Like it's almost like you just need to brainstorm or put stuff out and like not stop yourself, because it feels like you're holding yourself back from doing what you want to do, and that's not helping anything. Then on Wednesday, the moon moves into Libra in your 9th house, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your 3rd house. I believe we talked about this last week, Aquarius. Like there's this big come to Jesus moment as it relates to your communication, your belief systems. This is going to put pressure on that emotionally for you to really shift what's going on in your belief systems, your conditioning, your philosophies of life. It's almost like you really need to tell yourself a different story, and you will experience a different reality once you do that. But there's this big sobering moment that will happen probably this week around that kind of propels you into just a new story that you're telling yourself, that you're believing about what's possible for you in your life. There does feel like there's some emotional, good feelings, harmony on Thursday and Friday, as the moon will be harmonizing with everything that's in Gemini in your 5th house. This could be a good day to, start sharing your creations, or like I said, trial and erroring what you're putting out there into the world, and letting it show you how good it is without needing to be perfect. Then on Friday, the moon moves into your 10th house and opposes Venus in your 4th house while squaring Pluto in your 1st house. This could be big tension, challenges, conflict between you, your home, family life, and your career. Again, kind of propelling you into the new there, propelling you to make shifts that are necessary for where you're headed. Especially as it relates to making money. I feel like you've really been stepping into this new way of making money for yourself, or relating to money through maybe creative passions or projects. And this is going to propel you into that. I mean, the pressure is there to really step towards it in a big way. And you might have support through other people to do that. So accept it, open up and allow the support from other people, from your social circle, however it resonates with you, to be able to move into this new thing, because it does feel like the support is there. It's just about recognizing that it's there and allowing it to support you, right? There could be some big shift further related to that on Sunday as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Pisces, we start the week off with the moon in your seventh house. I feel like you're going to be really focused on other people, your relationships. There's this big emotional focus on like the people around you. You might even be refining that in some way. You might be refining how you show up for people or how you give yourself to people, how you work with clients. Maybe there could be a big release or realization around that on Tuesday, especially. Maybe you're needing to like move or just redo your home in some way or have a set boundaries with family in some way or something like that. It feels like there's this big need to change what you're doing in your home related to other people in your life. And there could be something that challenges you to make those necessary changes as we get into Wednesday and the moon moves over the south node in your seventh house. There could be some big emotional release as it relates to somebody else in your life related to what came up earlier in the week, maybe related to your home, something like that. Then on Thursday, the moon moves into your eighth house, putting the focus on your shared resources, money, debt, taxes. It feels kind of like there's tension between. I think we talked about this last week, Pisces. Like there's this really sobering moment for you that's happening around your money and how you're making it, how you're bringing it in, and what you're doing with it. And I think the moon, as it moves through, and opposes all this stuff in your second house, is going to put tension on that. But it does feel like there's some positive people you have to support you and to kind of guide you through that, and to help with that transition or to help with that change and the need to really be discerning with what you're doing for money. Then Friday, Venus moves into your third house, putting that focus of money, relationships, self-worth, values on your communication and what you're doing on a daily basis too. Like, are your habits supporting where you want to head? And who you're stepping into as a result of that. I do feel like there could be something around money on Friday that triggers you as well to kind of look at this and make the necessary changes to heal what the wounds that are still there that have been coming up around this. It does feel like though, like this isn't a long-lasting problem. It's kind of like a you're getting in your own way kind of thing, and you just need to get out of your own way and start doing the things that you know to do, that your intuition has probably been telling you. And that could, there could be a sobering moment around that over the weekend as the moon opposes Venus in your third house and challenges Pluto in your 12th house. There could be this big, oh, that's the block, or that's the subconscious thing that has been running the show. I see it now. I can act from a different place and I can transmute it, right, and move on. And again, that shift can be further supported on Sunday as the moon opposes Uranus in your third and ninth houses, and then challenges Mars and Leo in your sixth house. It feels like there's really this big need to move away from the old things that were holding you back and step fully into a new sense of you and an identity related to where you want to head and what you want to do for yourself and your life and your dreams. All right, Pisces, that's the week ahead for you. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Thank you all for being here, even though I was not able to hop on at my normal time. I hope this resonated with you. Let me know how it did in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss a weekly video or any other video that I post. Love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.